Good morning, beautiful Firefly sailors. We have a reasonably interesting kind of day today. So we've got this high pressure just sitting over the UK at the moment. It's currently somewhere near in between Northern Wales and kind of Northern Ireland. And what that is doing is it's basically just got no kind of big synoptic drivers, so that cold front passed through overnight. We're kind of just sat in this kind of post-frontal, reasonably cold, I can confirm, because the window's open, and we can kind of start to see our day developing in that way. So obviously, you all should have listened to me yesterday and brought a jacket or a spray top or another couple of layers. But today we're not going to have features like that, so that we don't have to worry too much. But again, it's still not super warm on the water. And yeah, so if we start to kind of pick it apart, we have two very distinct regimes that could happen. So we either get the sea breeze developing or we don't. And it's rather polarizing between all the models. So your geostatic ones don't see that developing, whereas the slightly more geodynamic models do. And this also has something to do with the model resolution, and this is quite a small feature, which means there's quite a lot of uncertainty with that because it's not a really big scale sort of weather feature. It's quite local, and it's reasonably small scale compared to a lot of other weather that we see. So I've kind of backed it coming, but again, it might not, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But we start our day with a northerly, and that is basically swinging right all day. I don't think I've put as many R's in the shift column as this morning, which, kind of maxed it out because every single one is. And we can see that around 12 o'clock, we see a drop in the breeze, and that is the sea breeze front forming, and we get the dead patch. And we can see that at 2 o'clock, it rebuilds, and there's a really dramatic shift there, and that won't necessarily be in one go. So that could be like 3 or 4 steps over the course of an hour and a half, 2 hours. And we can see that we get a pretty solid build. So kind of 9, gusting 11, and then that kind of goes up to 4 o'clock. And we can see that the temperature is increasing the whole time. So the warmest part of the day is 5, 6 o'clock. And what that means is that we will continue to have really good sea breeze until that temperature starts to drop. As soon as that temperature starts to drop, the whole thing collapses and falls off a cliff, and then we go back to that northerly. So that's kind of what happens there. The certainty, confidence levels reflect that, and we see, a reasonably large kind of lack of confidence in that section. What we're most likely to see here is a full drop of wind, and then just patches of gust come through. I mean, apart from the forecast, but the most obvious deviation from that is kind of patchy, gusty rubbish. And yeah, so we'll talk about tomorrow later. And we can see this is the northerly here, and that dies as we start to see the sea breeze starting to form. So we've got this big drop, and then we've got this build here, somewhere between midday and 2. It's not going to be quite this pronounced, or it's going to be more pronounced than this, and then it's going to be very patchy for this period before we see this build. And then we see a reasonable stabilization. But we've got this northerly here, big shift around. I mean, it's not necessarily shifting right, but it's most likely going to. but at that point it's quite intermittent, so it'll come from both directions and it'll be reasonably messy. So this is midday, and then we see that gentle right hand shift in the sea breeze before the sea breeze dies, and then we start getting the influence from the northerly again. Yeah, sea state's going to be flat because we're in 10B. Sea surface temperature, very similar. Air temperature is reasonably low, and we've got a lot of cirrus cloud at the moment, which could prevent the temperatures from rising, which again could stop this sea breeze from developing quite as efficiently as we'd hope. So we've talked about the weather pattern, we've talked about the clouds just now, we've talked about the wind trend. You can all read the venue guide, so it'll be either page 12, 13, or 14, depending on where we are in the day. To be honest, I think page 12 is most useful, same as yesterday. And yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about confidence now. I reckon there's probably a 40% chance that we have the scenario that I've talked about. We've probably got a 25-30% chance of the northerly kind of hanging out all day and getting no sea breeze propagation. And then the other third chance is, or whatever that makes up, is the front stalling on or just outside the coastline. So we just sit in an area of zero breeze as we're basically trying to build a sea breeze, but it's not. And that'll give us really light, unstable breeze with kind of like brief gusts and zephyrs of sea breeze, which is kind of light and fluffy compared to the gradient northerly, which is quite cold and heavy. And yeah, I mean, there's also a very small chance of a southeasterly sea breeze, which I can believe in, but I don't think will happen today, and that'll kind of come in from the south, potentially southeast. So yeah, and looking forward to tomorrow, we have an east southeast moving to a southeast, and 12 gusting 16 dropping to kind of 7 gusting 12, and that could potentially be thermally enhanced as well. So that's quite exciting. Wednesday is a little bit lighter, and then Thursday is a jumble zone. So we've got that to look forward to. So thank you very much, and I will be accepting pints of J2O Shandy. So I'll see you all on the water.